I be right then, based on that, with the assumption that, and this has always been my assumption, all the thousands of kids what have come out of university owing hundreds of thousands and billions of pounds between them, at some point, when they slide us completely into socialism, what they'll do is they'll say to all these people, listen, what we'll do is we'll write all this debt off. That's what's going to happen, I think. Because if we write all this money off, admittedly, you know, you might have to abide by these rules now.
Yeah, no, they will do that.
Right, but you don't owe that money anymore. You know, you've gone away, you've got all these degrees and everything, and unfortunately there's no work for you. But here's another option.
Yeah.
And I see that with whether that's currency. Yeah. I pay for everything in cash. Yeah. The minute I get paid, I get the bank take everything out what I don't need for direct debits, and then I use that to pay everybody. Yeah. And my mum says to me, gosh, she's doing my head in. But for me...
But again, you've hit another nail on the head there, right? People have got used to something called convenience.
Yeah.
And that convenience is that is the nemesis of, and will destroy your freedom.
Yeah.
Right? And again, it's the convenience of having a supermarket. Really, it's now the convenience of having your food delivered.
Yeah.
Or your Just Eat, and you're using your Just Eat, and they're gonna deliver you. You ain't even got to drive to that terrible place called McDonald's. Yeah. Someone's gonna deliver it. Right? and any form of fast food, any form of processed food is bad for your body.
Well, there lies an interesting thing. One of the things that one of the projects I'm working on at the moment, we've launched this food hub. So we've launched a website called foodfindershub.co.uk. The idea is that it sits between the farmers, growers, butchers, bakers, candlestick makers, and all the smaller people, and the consumer, the customer who wants to buy that produce, right? As a way for people to find food. Now, one of the things I've always been riled about, and I do, and it grinds my bones, is the fact that if you take the bit in between the farmer and the customer, it's a supermarket. It's not a supermarket. What you've got is a supply chain that, as it works its way through the system, they add all the poisons, yeah, all the components they want you to have. Yeah. So whether that's, you know, if you look on a lot of, I think, I certainly think, you know, that supermarket, what every little hurts, they worked on the philosophy that there's, I think, last count it was about 105 items what are on the shop shelves have now got cricket flour in rather than real flour. Yeah. Right? People are not aware about it. Right? Colourings and different things, what they've changed from additives to critter dyes and things like this, right? Yeah. So what we're seeing is, in between here and here is the bit what's killing everyone, right? And I don't care if that's mRNA, right? Because we know that's going into the food supply chain by the animals, right? We know all the shite what's coming down from above, from chemtrails, is getting eaten by the animals or swallowed up by the vegetables, right? And then given to people. So anything you can do to remove that supply chain needs to be done really quickly. Yeah. And that's why I talk about, you know, crashing supermarkets and getting out the door. Yeah. So now, on from that, for me, my research, you know, you've been over on our veg beds today, my research is that my granddad did certain things that I could not understand as a youngster, right? And now, as an older person and someone who's gone down the scientific route trying to explain why Granddad did things, whether that be putting a bit of copper wire around the post to get the energy into the ground, whether that was having a water butt that had stinging nettles and comfrey leaves in it, so you made a tea to give you compost. All the vegetable waste always went onto the compost heap. There was horse manure added. All of those things what helped build the bio of the soil and put the vitamins and minerals back into the ground. Correct, yeah. That is what we need to do, because the food, this bit what's in the supermarket chain, right, is stripping it of everything what's any good, right? Now the ground as well, on most of these big farms, and a classic example is here on the farm we're on here, had our soil tested 9 months ago, it's got 5% life in it, right? And that is because of over-farming. Yeah. And coming back to what you were saying earlier, can I give you some examples of how farmers have been pulled to bits? Yeah. So, here's a classic. We produce a grain on the farm that we could either do one of two things with. We could keep some of it, like we always have, and then next year we use that for our seed, or we can go for a new system which has been offered to us, like 50 years ago, where we give all the grain to the seed company, and they treat it, and they make sure it's not going to get any bacteria or any nastiness happen to it, and they sell us 20% of it back. And then we set that, and we go again, right? So we've ended up with GMO'd seed, and now you've given you the GMO seed, you've got to use the GMO fertiliser to go with it. So nitrogen. You're also going to have to use glyphosate to keep the weeds down. Now the glyphosate won't affect the grain because it's been GMO modified, but it will stop all the weeds, right? So you haven't got to worry about the weeds, you just go across it and spray this. Now, yes, there is the problem that using the glyphosate will change the protein in the food, so now everyone thinks they're allergic to wheat, where they're actually not, and say, oh, I can't eat that, I'm gluten-free. No, you're not. I'll guarantee you're not allergic to gluten, you're allergic to the protein change in the food, right? So, that is a classic example. We've changed how we used to do it. We used to go out and put horse manure on the field, we'd plough that in, we would then drill seed what we kept, we would then, you'd have people out there, like my granddad would spend 18 hours a day with a hoe going down rows of sugar beet, chopping out and cutting the weeds out, right? Don't have to do that now, just spray it. But all that spray is going in the ground, killing the ground. So,
and that's affecting the mineral uptake into the plant.
Absolutely. Now, what I was going to say is a lot of people have had the conversation with me about people who grow food, saying one of the big things I'm really, really worried about is last year we had really low pollination. Why was that? Well, because there wasn't any bees. No, there was plenty of bees. Let me absolutely tell you categorically, loads and loads of bees. However, I don't know if you've ever studied bees. Here's a beehive. The first 2 or 3 bees will come out of the hive.
I need a bees.
Right. Their job, as you'll know then, is to go and find the biggest food source, right, which is on the bee line. And the reason they call it the bee line, right? Their job is to find the biggest food resource. So what do? Do they go and scavenge around all the hedgerows, right, which they've always done for a million years, right? Or, oh, hang on a minute, boys, there's a banquet over there. Someone's only gone and set 100 acres of wildflowers for us, right? You want to find bees and insects? Go there. There's thousands of them, right? So that's what that was about. The reason they paid farmers so much to produce nothing was not about producing nothing. It wasn't about paying the farmers for that. It was about taking the bees away. And they'll do the same again this year and the same again next year. So people have low pollination at home. So there they go, I don't know what we're going to do. I can't grow any food at home. Oh, well, I'll tell you what I will do. What I'll do is I'll buy GMO seed, and now my GMO seed is self-generating. It will self-fertilise. Pollinate, right? So we've got past that now. So they've given us the answer to a problem they've created, right? So how do you get around that? Well, what we're doing this year is using it exactly the same way. On the gardens that we were earlier, we're going to put our own beehives, so putting a strip of wildflowers in, so the minute they come out of the hives, there's dinner, right? So it keeps them within that section. It saves them tracking off 2 or 3 miles to get rapeseed or whatever else. So what we've got to look at is how we change how we farm.
So another, I don't know if you know anything about this. There's a lady that calls into the show, and she understands the soil, she understands what they're doing, etc. And there's websites that can show you like exactly what should be in the soil, etc. But when we was having the discussion about mineralisation of the soil, Dr. Glidden is another person in America, and he said to me, Graham, it's all right looking at a Brazil nut, but if that Brazil tree is in an area where there is no selenium, it will look like a Brazil nut, it will taste like one, but it ain't got no selenium in it. Absolutely. And then he showed a map, we showed maps of America where they grow Brazil nuts, and he said that these areas have got no selenium. So everyone's thinking they're getting selenium from Brazil nuts, and there's nothing in the soil, so it's not in the Brazil nut, right? It's crucially important that people understand that. Rapeseed is one of the things that draws out all the minerals, and then they use it for whatever they use it for, but it's generally not for food.
No, make bio oil out of it to run vehicles on.
So what are they actually doing? But raping the soil.
That's what it's
designed of minerals,
for. Absolutely.
Right? So it's not in there for when you replant another crop.
Yep.
So to give everyone an understanding of this, if you was to plant broccoli after you've planted rape soil, right, and rape soil will destroy the soil.
It ain't going to grow.
Right. Well, even if it does grow, you'll see that it goes rotten quicker.
Yeah.
Right. And the reason is it's because it's not taking up any boron, and boron is what's one of the core elements of broccoli. Right. So if you understand, and by the way, just for anyone to understand, boron is crucial for your heart.
Right.
Right. It's also crucial for male erections.
So
when people understand, you're getting all these men that can't get whatever, and the others are having heart attacks and oh, there's heart disease. You want to be looking at what you're eating and what
Absolutely.
the food is missing.
Oh, that's a good point, because we all know broccoli is one of the 5 a day. One of the the healthy foods. We know we've got to eat that. But the problem is when people don't look at how that's grown.
Yeah.
Well, as a greengrocer wholesaler, right, we import Spanish ice broccoli, right, this time of year because people demand it.
Yeah.
It has got no goodness in it whatsoever.
No nutrients.
I absolutely guarantee it's got no value to it. The problem is that until people start to go backwards and look at the whole, it's a bit like you saying, the unravelling the constitutional law.
Yeah, yeah.
We've got to go backwards 1,000 years in growing food.
Yeah.
And get right back to the core value, which is what we're trying to do on the farm here. And due to the success we had last year, Ray has kindly agreed to let me have 3 times as much land this coming year because he's seen the results we've got.
Yeah.
And as a commercial
you've
farmer,
evidenced it, which I've just seen, by the way, and I'm massively impressed with it.
From our side, we've got garlic growing up there.
Yeah.
Strawberries growing up there.
I love a bit of garlic. Go on.
Strawberry plants growing up there. When it's minus outside and has been for days on end, right? Every night we've got a frost. We've still got strawberries growing. Yeah. Now they're growing, yes, because of things we're doing on that section of the farm, but they're growing because we've got an idea of what needs to happen to make that happen. And unfortunately, some of these bigger farms, they've lost their way so much.
Yeah. No, I get that. And again, it's the corporates that are coming in and buying these farms up and doing all these other bits and pieces. And literally, they're going to they're going to shut down farming. People have got to understand what this is all about, and it's not just about the fact that you're not going to get fed. You've lost the skill set.
I'll tell you.